Thank you. Thank you for being with me today. Whatever day, wherever you are in listening to this information. I want to thank Dr. Kathy Ajardo and all of the Head Start staff and team for being able to provide you with some information. So we're thinking today about CORE, the child assessment system that we use here, and lesson planning and the connection between those two things. So these brief webinars are designed as a series of 4. The first 2 of which will focus on CORE, the second 2 of which will focus on lesson planning. And I value your time. So we're going to be brief, we're going to give you an overview, and then we're going to give you an opportunity to follow up with questions. And I just want to begin with a thank you. Those of you who know me know the depth of my gratitude for what you do every day. And it's just so true. So thank you for being here. So we're thinking about CORE, we're thinking about lesson planning, and I want to just begin with bringing us back to our curriculum. We use HighScope, and this is a picture of the HighScope preschool wheel. Here we have the infant toddler wheel of learning. And what you'll see in these pictures is where CORE, where child observation, where lesson planning fits. And what you'll notice here, of course, is that the hub of the wheel is active learning. And you'll also notice that part of observation is teamwork. This task is really hard, and it's best done together. It's best done with your team. So what we're thinking about now is this idea of how do we catch it? How do we know what's important? What do we look for when we look at children? Both best practice and the Head Start performance standards require that all programs use a research-based, authentic child assessment tool. Our program uses CORE Advantage because it was developed by the HighScope Foundation, and it matches what and how we teach. Those of you who have already become familiar with HighScope know it's a curriculum built on respect. Respect for the child as an active learner, respect for the child as a constructor of knowledge. We always focus on children's strengths, and we use those strengths to craft these individualized learning opportunities. HighScope is built on scaffolding, this idea of show me, help me, let me. We walk together with children through development. So how do we know what those strengths are? How do we find them? How do we catch them? That's where CORE is a help. Observation is key, allowing children to help you see things from their point of view, from their perspective, in the course of your day. It's not an assessment system that says, pull out the child, show me what you know right now. CORE says, let's be together in our day, and you help me to see what you are interested in, what you want to do. CORE is built on a system that is inclusive. It is research-based, it is authentic, it meets all of the criteria that are necessary for a really effective assessment system. CORE is built on domains of development, and it organizes these children's strengths into 9 different content areas. Approaches to learning, social and emotional development, physical development and health, language, literacy and communication, mathematics, creative arts, science and technology, social studies, and in some cases, English language learning. All the things that you do every day, all of the things that you plan for. CORE is built on taking notes. We call them anecdotal notes, writing down what you see children doing as they're doing it. And it's an authentic system because of that, because it's doing what you do every day. CORE is an acronym. It stands for Child Observation Record. And each of these content areas is built on items. What do we know? What do we look for? How do we know what to see? Each of these content areas has items, and the items have letters. If you've already practiced with CORE some, you'll know these letters go from A up through JJ. Each of the items is based on a score from 0 to 7. And those scores will, again, to help you to see developmentally where children are. It's important to know that CORE is not age normed. So just because a child is 3 does not mean he'll be at a level 3. CORE was built by researchers on what they saw children doing around the world. And each level is a higher level of complexity, a higher level of a skill set. It's really important that you always score what you see. not what you think the child should be doing or what you saw the child do yesterday. When you write an anecdote, you score what you see. And the best way to do that is to use your scoring guide. Always use your scoring guide. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. So steps for using Core Advantage begin with the observation. In the course of your day, you record. This is used as evidence, and then you enter that evidence into the system. We'll talk about that in the next video. And then you review. What am I missing? What more do I need to know? What do I really want to know about this child? So in terms of collection hints, you're thinking about keeping paper everywhere. Some teachers like to use the books that your program manager may have given you. Those can be helpful. Some teachers like to use just good old sticky notes, you know, and they stash them around the room so that they can always have these notes handy. You might want to set realistic goals. It can feel overwhelming at first. You've got 34 or 36 items for each of the children in your classroom, so set a goal for yourself. I'm going to take 5 or 6 anecdotes today. If you do that, by the end of the week, you'll have 25 or 30 anecdotes. So make those goals realistic. You might want to focus on one particular core category. I don't know much about tools and technology in my classroom. Let me really pay attention to that. You might want to pick out a couple of children to focus on. Child who's been absent maybe, and you really need to get those notes in. And then always set aside time to transfer your anecdotes. Maybe in the afternoon if there is time, or early in the morning if there is time, or on a Friday if you have time. It's tricky to use an anecdotally based system because you are always planning for observations. So plan to observe across settings. Don't lock yourself into only on the inside, while you're inside or while you're outside. Have a system. Develop whatever system works for you. Some teachers like to have a whiteboard where they can put children's names and put the notes in, or whatever system works for you is what's really, really important. And then as you're going through your core, think about, am I missing something? Am I forgetting to look for this item? Are there activities I could do to support this particular item? Am I observing across a range of development? And then have some format. Always remember, when you write down a note, you think you're going to remember, but your brains are very full. So write the note. Write it quickly, and then at the end of the day, kind of add those details that are missing. Date it, because by the end of the week, when you're entering the notes, you're going to forget, was that Monday or Wednesday? Put the child's name in, again, or initials, so you don't forget. Note which part of the day it was in. Note which area of the classroom it's in. That's all going to tell the story as you're building the story for this child. Just tell what happens. And when you tell what happens, be specific. Focus on what the child did, what the child said, not what you thought about what the child did, not your interpretation of it, but exactly what you saw. Write what you saw, as objectively, as factually, as specifically as you can. And remember that you can use photos as evidence, you can use videos as evidence. You can use iPad's a wonderful way to do that. We'll talk more about that in just a moment in the next video, or simply text. But remember that note is serving as evidence. It's evidence for why you're scoring what you're scoring. And it's also most helpful when it's connected to learning. Can I do something? Now that I know this about the child, what more can I do? We're going to talk more about that in our video focused on lesson planning. So thank you for listening to this quick information about Core. I have my email on the screen. I have my colleague Stephanie's email on the screen. Please reach out to us. Please, 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 with questions, comments, anything we can do to support you in this incredibly important work that you do. So I thank you.